Hi, my name is Jessica Velez, and I am the Membership, Engagement, and Early Career Programs Manager for the Genetics Society of America. Today, I am joined by members of the Early Career Leadership Program who will be sharing their thoughts and experiences with the ECLP.
Hi, everybody. I'm Molly Maddie, and I am a postdoc at the Salk Institute in San Diego, California, and I am on the Career Development Subcommittee, where I've been the co-chair for the past 2 years.
Hi, I'm Ondula Day. I'm a PhD candidate at Case Western Reserve University. I'm the co-chair for the Accessibility and Disability Advocacy Subcommittee. Also, I'm a member of the Career Development Subcommittee.
Karen Amyenaho, and I'm pleased to serve in my current role as chair of the Communication and Outreach Subcommittee.
I am Narjis Foraiji, a senior lecturer at Department of Pharmacology, College of Medicine, University of Karbala, Iraq. I am part of Communication and Outreach Subcommittee.
Bulent Cacho, and I'm on the Policy and Advocacy Subcommittee as a co-chair.
I'm Jie Lee, a postdoc at UW at Seattle, but working as a visiting scholar at UCI at Irvine, California. And I'm proud to serve as a co-chair for the Multimedia Subcommittee, the newest subcommittee of ECLP.
My name is Leila Valenstein, or Lei for short. I'm a postdoctoral fellow at the Oregon Health and Science University, and I'm a member of the Community and Membership Engagement Subcommittee, where we work to understand the challenges and concerns of our fellow early career researchers.
I'm Kaushal. I'm from India. I did my PhD there, and then I moved to Europe for my postdoc experience, and I got a chance to get involved with the ECLP program with GSA, and I'm part of membership community and membership subcommittee, and working with other international researchers there.
I joined the Early Career Leadership Program to both learn and mentor my peers who are also at the early stages of their career in biomedical sciences. And I also sought to join the program to be a beacon of change in bridging the diversity gap of African American and other ethnic minorities who historically may not be represented in research. As well, my goal as a member of the program and as a current doctoral student of Howard University is to sharpen my leadership skills and acquire experiential learning opportunities that will supplement my early stage career in the field of human genetics and nutritional science research. I also have to note that my passion for advancing human genetics and nutrition science research is the reason why I joined, because I'm interested in learning how to combat the incidence of type 2 diabetes by examining the interplay it has between diet and gene expressions that are associated with the disease.
I joined the program aiming to develop a professional leadership skills and to expand my professional network. Also, I have the passion and motivation to volunteer to give back for the society. By mean society, I mean GSA society, because I am already a member of it. Then the most importantly, I like to communicate science, and I found that the GSA is the right place to do that.
So I joined the GSA Early Career Leadership Program because of its mission statement to make a difference in the community led by the Genetics Society of America. And I thought that by joining a very important community led by the GSA, I could make a difference in particular fields, including science communication and policy and advocacy.
I joined with networking and professional skill development in my mind. And as I mentioned, I started working at a remote location and was struggling with isolation. And I was already familiar with GSA since I work with Drosophila and attended 5 meetings. So when I saw the ECLP was open for new members on the GSA newsletter, I didn't hesitate at all.
Yeah, at the time that the pandemic started, I had been a postdoc for just a few months in a new field, the field of genetics, and felt very isolated. I heard from a grad school friend that the Genetics Society of America was making the TAGC conference free for all in 2020. And signing up for that was pivotal for me to feel connected to the science community at the time. After that, I kept an eye out for the different initiatives of the GSA and quickly realized how much of an effort this society devotes to keeping the community together and to reach out to the public. And so during my time in grad school, this had always been a very important thing to me. But with the pandemic, I had learned or had been taught that this is not a choice but a must, that scientists need to interact with the public often, that they have to be advocates for science, and that making progress on your own project or career alone is not enough in isolation. And so when I learned about the ACL program, I felt ecstatic because I quickly understood that this was going to be a platform for me to develop my leadership skills, to explore new endeavors, and most importantly, to connect to the genetics community that I was new to.
So I would say the most unexpected experience was this entire time that I've been on the career development subcommittee has been in a virtual space. And that was actually how it was intended to be, where everybody from across the globe meets in a virtual space. But during the COVID-19 pandemic, everything we had to do was virtual. So we were supposed to have a large meeting, TAGC 2020, at which we were going to have a poster and meet people and meet each other. And obviously that didn't happen. And so I would say my favorite thing that was unexpected was that from that, one of our career development subcommittee members came up with an idea to have an interactive panel during TAGC 2020. And in that panel, we hosted, I believe, about 10 different careers from people who have degrees in genetics and have had experience in business or in the government or in policy. And from that, we spawned the Workshop Wednesdays series, which happens every other month. And we feature scientists who have really cool careers that maybe we don't often hear about. And so that's been my favorite kind of unexpected outcome to pivoting during these times with this subcommittee.
Being in the early career leadership program and working on so many wonderful projects itself has been so exciting for me, and it's really hard to pick one. But for me, the most unexpected experience was establishing a whole new subcommittee focused on making this program more accessible to scientists with disabilities. It initially started with me having this very naive idea. I was very passionate to work on it, but had no concrete plan on how to execute it. So I approached a few members and senior leaders within this program to discuss it. And I was really amazed to see the amount of support and guidance that I received, despite the fact that I had such low expertise on my own idea that I was proposing. So yeah, a lot of people in the program just gave me their time. They put their brains into this idea and really volunteered to help me. And now here we are. We have a whole new subcommittee that transformed my idea into a leadership and training opportunity for everyone in the program. So I'm very, very grateful for what we have achieved. And I never really envisioned it this way when I originally joined the program. So I'm really happy about it. And yeah, this has been certainly the most unexpected and exciting and really rewarding experience for me.
Something that has been very exciting for me to realize is how much the GSA values and supports the voice of early career researchers. Of course, I think this makes a lot of sense because we are going to be at the forefront of research in the near future, and so we should have a say in shaping the scientific community. But I feel my opinions and ideas are welcome and taken very seriously, and that the staff behind this very well-oiled machine that is the ACL program does everything in their power to administratively support that our ideas turn into actions. This is, for instance, the case with one of the initiatives that I'm involved in, the Accessibility and Disability Advocacy Group, which seeks to make the research environment more accessible and inclusive to people with disabilities. This started with a passionate idea of Andrila from the Career Development Subcommittee, as you will probably hear in a different section of this video. And what started as an interest group is now evolving into its own dedicated subcommittee, thanks to the unconditional support of the GSA.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I got to know about ECLP from GSA blog when one of my research was published in G3. I subscribed to ECLP newsletter for regular updates and useful information for ECR. There I saw first advertisement for the Presidential Membership Award, and thanks to that membership initiative, I got a chance to involve with ECLP. As co-chair and member of the Community and Membership Subcommittee, so far I'm very surprised how thoughtful GSA community is towards the need of ECLP and ECR community, and I'm very surprised the initiative GSA is taking to get involved with the early career researchers to enrich their experience as a researcher from diverse cultural background. And the mentorship we are getting from senior professors and leaders in industry, it's tremendously beautiful and very supportive, thanks to GSA initiatives and the sense of community we feel.
My favorite project to date has been my pioneer work, which was approved earlier this year by leaders of the Genetics Society of America to establish a new web presence on the Genetics Society of America website to highlight targeted DEIA, which stands for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Matters, to include, for example, publications authored by members of my subcommittee, as well as other GSA subcommittees, resources, for example, employment opportunities and professional training, external collaborative partnership opportunities, and scholastic and professional achievements of diverse research scientists. This newly established webpage would, in tandem, also raise awareness and support topical matters surrounding diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And so I lead this group of individuals who've joined from across the program when we kicked off our meeting in March of this year. Those members have been a great add. They've expressed great enthusiasm in being part of what I term as a historic effort. And since March, we've been routinely convening discussions, and we've even begun developing our framework as a way forward so that we can develop some content, and various groups across the program, including our advocacy groups, are involved. So that's been my most favorite project that I've worked on so far.
In fact, I like all the projects that I worked within the GCA, but the most interesting topic was about bioinformatics, how mathematics and science are joined together to make and enable new discoveries.
One of the projects that we're working on is an interview series. Actually, we're interviewing people in different positions across the policy and advocacy spectrum, meaning that we have a range from professors who are involved in policy as just an element of their job, and then we have full-on people who are in government working on framing science policy. And the reason this is my favorite is because it opened up not only my eyes, but hopefully to our target audience, which is students in the ECLP and beyond, that you can be involved in policy and advocacy and shape the important terrain of politics in science, even if you're not directly involved in politics. And so I think it's been eye-opening for me, and that's why I'm really excited about this project, and hopefully others will be excited about it too.
As the multimedia subcommittee, we produce a podcast named Genetics in Your World. And I am so excited that our very first episode is almost ready to launch. And recent articles that are published in the GSA journals, the Genetics and G3, are featured on our podcast. And we share a genuine conversation with the author, covering the scientific findings, as well as the personal stories that are often hidden behind the scene. So every article has its own drama, and every scientist has their own story that I find super interesting and exciting. All of our committee members work really hard, and I'm so proud of the team effort.
So I really have enjoyed a lot of the extra stuff behind being in this committee. I found that by saying yes to extra meetings, which I know sometimes we don't want to do, but by saying yes to these meetings and getting into rooms with people like Jessica or people like Tracy, who you've heard from, and other people from other committees, I'm really expanding my network. And I even had an opportunity to get on a larger GSA committee, the conferences committee, because so many people had interacted with me in a space and they knew my energy. And so I feel like that's the greatest outcome of networking, is when people, think of how are we going to have a good time in a virtual space while learning, and my name comes up. It's very humbling to know that just by saying yes to some meetings and being that smiling, nodding face, that I'm really networking with some powerful, cool people. Yeah.
There are plenty of networking opportunities within the Early Career Leadership Program. First, within the subcommittee that you're in, where you can meet other members of the new cohort, as well as the second year cohort that help us transition in. Second, we frequently interact with early career researchers from other subcommittees through the general Slack or the different events that each subcommittee organizes. And these interactions are often in a very relaxed setting, like in the virtual cafes run by our own subcommittee, where we engage in topics that interest or concern us, like how not to overcome it or how to de-stress during a pandemic. And something I really appreciate from the ECL program is how diverse the pool of members is in terms of background and research interests. And so, for instance, in our own subcommittee alone, there's people from at least 6 different nationalities that work in very different things like neurogenetics and fly, like myself, or plant genetics, like Kaushal, whom you will also hear from in this video. And so aside from researchers in our own career stage, we can also interact with more senior researchers like the GSA board members, who are the people at the forefront of the genetics research, like Hugo Bellin or Jane Goubert. And so we recently started small group conversations with 2-3 GSA board members at a time, where we chat about topics that us, the early career researchers, have chosen, like how to make the science community more welcoming to international researchers or how to get published. And on top of that, you can also interact with senior researchers through the events that we organize. And this includes people that also have chosen career paths away from academia. And so I can say that in less than a year that I have belonged to this program, I have very meaningfully connected with the genetics community that I was new to. And that if it weren't for this program, I don't think I could have had the chance to do that.
So at the Early Career Leadership Program, we work on a lot of different projects that allowed me to connect with a lot of scientists in various fields, both academic and non-academic. So for example, being a part of the Career Development Subcommittee, I get to work on the Decoding Life interview series and also the virtual workshop Wednesdays. So these opportunities help me learn about various possible career options for PhDs, for example, positions in industry, both the R&D and the business sides of it, positions in academia, both research and administrative, job opportunities in the government, science policy, science communication, and so many others. And in addition to connecting with scientists who work in these different sectors, I learned how to pursue these careers. I was able to understand what I need to do to get to these positions and what kind of job roles I would be more suitable for. So definitely this program helped me to learn about different careers and recognize what's a good fit for me. It would be stepping out of my comfort zone and turning my weaknesses into strengths. So before I joined the program, I knew what I was good at and I kind of treated it as my safe place and I never looked beyond it. So for example, I would be very intimidated if I was asked to lead an initiative or lead a project or host an event. I felt I was more suited for back-end supportive roles for any event or student-led organizations. However, in the program, I watched so many amazing graduate students and postdocs do such wonderful work and really helped this program expand and diversify. And for me, just watching that served as an instant source of motivation. I really started pushing myself to try new things that would really help me grow professionally. I signed up for a lot of projects and tasks that required me to lead it. And my biggest realization from each of those experiences was that those things were never really my weaknesses. I somehow had some sort of inhibitions. And the minute I managed to remove my fears, that's it, there was just nothing stopping me. I really enjoyed those things. And in fact, now those are my biggest strengths. So I'm really grateful that this program provided me the platform to broaden my skill set. And yeah, I'm really happy about that. And I think another big realization for me was that as a scientist, there is really nothing that you cannot do. As long as you're determined and you keep pushing yourself, there is just nothing stopping you.
So one big element for the leadership aspect is being a co-chair of the Policy and Advocacy Subcommittee. And one thing I've learned is, how to manage many people and many projects. This is unfortunately something that when you're in academics, you'll be expected to do, but you never actually learn how to do. And I've learned that I actually enjoy like the delegation of tasks and, keeping people together, keeping morale up, keeping projects going. It was a difficult learning curve, but I think at this point, I've been having fun doing it, and I've learned much more here than I ever would in a lab on this topic.
I believe that ECLP is a dynamic platform that is discussing the need of international researchers as a community. In my opinion, the discussions coming up, the initiatives GSA is taking, it's beneficial to the researchers, even if you are not a geneticist and you are not coming from biology. These are really meaningful discussions coming up in my experience when we get involved with GSA and contribute as ECLP. And I'm really learning a lot, especially from recent initiatives like science outreach programs in regional language, the start of accessibility and disability advocacy subcommittee. It's really tremendously beautiful as an experience of human, not just researcher. And being an international researcher and in mobility situation, I have worked in 3 different countries so far, and I feel there are some omnipresent academic problems. Those are present in each academic environment where I have worked. And I believe the best way to solve these problems is to build a community and take care and enrich and mentor a community of researchers where voices are being heard and valued. And I believe GSA is doing a fantastic job as a community builder, and I can encourage early career researchers to get involved with that, because your voice is really being heard. You get in touch with the policymakers, and then you also get involved with different training programs like reviewer training and then scientific writing. And for my goal as a leader in future is really helping me a lot. For example, the brainstorming that we have open with other ECRs, it brings new idea and perspective how to achieve the long-term and short-term goal to become an effective leader that could make a better change, better society. And I believe the other charm of working with ECLP is that you get to know and meet with researchers from different nationalities, and you feel yourself as a global citizen who is advocating for science without borders.
Through the program, I've identified a few leadership skills, some of which include being able to manage competing priorities and time management, strategic planning and acting in collaboration with my peers, effective communication and decision-making, while bearing in mind the value of our cultural, professional, and academic differences, team development and task delegation, self-development and career preparedness, and ethical practices and civic engagement.
The most valuable skills which I developed was my organizational skills, leadership. I also, there was improvement on my science communication to non-scientists specifically. As a member of this committee, I had the opportunity to work collaboratively with other team members from different backgrounds, different nationalities. I was able to give instructive and receive instructive feedback regarding the project which I worked on.
I think part of the takeaway for me is just learning that there's many more career opportunities than just being in academia. And even if you are in academia, you don't have to be just the slog of grant writing and running experiments, but you can actually make a difference and be involved in your community. For example, we've done a virtual Hill Day where we participated and met with our local congressmen and representatives to ask for increases in science policy funding. And so elements like that has been, eye-opening and really rewarding. And, I love learning and being part of new things. So it's been a blast.
I have been learning communication skills the most, including the communication with the interviewees for the podcast, writing the script and short blurbs and quotes for communication with the public, communicating with the team members and with other members of GSA. And of course, I'm learning how to manage my time and manage a project and pushing it move forward. And finally, I'm learning a lot and developing writing skills through workshops, leadership spotlight writing, and contributing to the newsletter, etc.
So I was really happy to take the science writing class with Rachel Fairbank. So Rachel is an amazing writer and a really inspiring person to work with. I often struggle with having time to devote to writing or really think deeply about what I'm writing and why. And Rachel and the rest of our classmates were so invested in, really critically analyzing our work. So it actually gave me time to curate an abstract for a conference. And it actually let me read pop science articles more critically, which is something I've never done before, but actually to think about what makes this article engaging or what makes this article not engaging. And then taking those pieces that make it engaging and use those tools in my own writing. I was also really fortunate to have a great group of colleagues who took the class along with me. And so I got to meet some people from other subcommittees and even in my own subcommittee and get to know them outside of our regular meeting time. So that was also really rewarding.
Thank you all again for so much of your time. If any of our applicants have questions for the ECLP representatives who have joined us today or me, please send an email to engagement@genetics-gsa.org. That's engagement, fully spelled out, at genetics, fully spelled out, -gsa.org.